published some of their works or into a comprehensive book. So the first one is perempuan dan literasi digital, antara problem hambatan dan arah pemberdayaan. So this is about women and digital literation. So the second one is about jagat komunikasi kontemporer. This is some kind of comprehensive book about the theory, the contemporary theory in research and reality in communication phenomena. So how can I or how can you get this book or to access to inquire this book? So I will send the link. Yeah, I'm sorry. So you can find that in the chat room. You can email upon the information of the inquiry of the book in external@gmail.com, and you can follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at DCOM. So I will introduce the seven research area that will be concluded in the special session A or parallel session A. The first one is the intercultural conflict on online social media. This is was written by Dimas Satriawan, Farah Fatin, and Ulima Adinta. And then the second one is parasocial relationship with media feature. Was researched or written by Litwina Mutia Sadasri. And after that, the third one is negotiating sexuality. Yeah, it's Indonesian female audience towards pornographic media content. It was written or researched by Masita Vandia. The fourth is challenges of public participation in digital media environment. The case of RRI or Radio Republik Indonesia, the Indonesian state radio. It was researched and written by Dr. Rahayu and Mira Paramastri. The fifth one will be a picture speaks 1,000 words, interpreting public leaders' crisis communication towards COVID-19 on Instagram. This was researched and written by Dewa Ayu Agendari. The sixth will be what do opinion leaders share from new normal? Qualitative content analysis of opinion leaders. This was researched and written by Fitrah Puluhulawa. And the last one, but not least, the seventh, will be the role of information and communication technology for economic sustainability in Indonesia. It was researched and written by Lisa Lindawati. So this will be the seven area of research that will be presented by the researcher and the presenter. Maybe we can start from the first one. But before we start, the presenter will have around 10 minutes, yeah, to present the researcher, and the presenter will have 10 minutes to present their works or their presentation material. So the first one will be intercultural conflict on online social media. I present Dimas, Farah, and Ulima. You can start now. Thank you.
Okay, let me share my screen first.
The way technology works is not a law of physics. It's not set in stones. These are choices that human beings like us have been making. On social media, individual can free himself from his body. The environment of social media appeared to be a space which act like a playground for identity. People coming out and having this open conversation, as you can see here. A person can play as an evil or an angel, the supportive one or the one that just messes around. Different places, different time, different phases. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Farah, and I'm delighted to share with you our team research titled Intercultural Conflict on online social media, Twitter content analysis of Kristen Gray's Bali overstay case. But before that, we give a disclaimer that this nickname of the nation, such as Indonesian and Black, are only used to label the actor in these conflict issues. We do not discriminate against the parties we mentioned in this research. And this is our team. These are the people behind this research. There is Dimas Satyawan and also Ulima Nabila, and our beloved supervisor, Mbak Litwina Mutia Sadasri as IPMA. As we all can see here, that woman is Kristen Gray, a Black American who lived with his partner in Bali back then, a thread maker who later sparked a polemic between Indonesian and Black netizens. And what is actually happening? How come a woman thread become a very viral conflict on Twitter? So, for Indonesian, Kristen Gray ebook and thread contain illegal tips and tricks to stay in Bali. She doesn't pay taxes even though she worked. Kristen also encouraged mass movement during the pandemic, and she had tricks on how to enter Indonesia during COVID-19, even though currently Indonesia is closing its door to foreign citizens. And for Black, the response of Indonesian netizen is considered as a hate speech against the Black race. But there are also a lot of cases where Indonesians support and root for Black American and vice versa. And these various arguments from both sides are interesting to study because they represent the face of conflict actors. And to see the various responses in this study, we use face negotiation theory that was initiated by Ting To Me. And FNT study is a study of a face management in conflict, and face here can be interpreted as how someone shows himself. And Ting To Me also argues that cultural backgrounds such as collectivistic and individualistic will affect the face management in conflict situation. And furthermore, there are three strands in this theory. The first one is self-control that is divided into two, independent and also inter-independent. The second one, face concern, which also divided into two, that is self-face and also other face. And the third one is conflict management, which means how one's manage the face in the conflict. And there are 8 types of conflict in this management. And here's the example. The first tweet has inter-independent self-control because she represents we identity. She also has other face concern because she cares for all people, whether Black or Indonesian. And she is also integrating because she tried to open a discussion. In contrast, the second tweet shows independent self-control, self-face concern, and also dominating conflict management because his argument feels intimidating without respecting any different perspective. And why this research is important? Here, we bring 3 novelties in this research. So the first one, previous FNT research such as Ting To Me research only analyze face management in the context of conventional communication. And our research bring novelty to the study of facial management in social media. The second one, previous FNT did not have a specific conflict context. For example, in Merola's research in 2019, which discussed interpersonal communication conflict. And our research also bring novelty in the form of community conflict as a nation. And the last one, previous research used in-depth interviews, while our research used content analysis. Seeing a lot of conflict on social media, especially intercultural conflict, we believe that this research is important for a basis for realizing that each other conflict has image and value that they hold on to and are reflected in argument on their tweets. And with this awareness, intercultural harmonization on social media can be maintained. Therefore, the research question of the problem that we both are the first one, how is face management between Indonesian citizen and Black American in the intercultural conflict Kristen Gray on Twitter in the period of 3 days? The second one, when compared to Ting To Me assumption, is there any change in facial management in Indonesian and Black American individuals. And the last one, why do face management can occur? This research conduct content analysis as a primary method to answer the research question and interviews to dig the insight from communication and also culture expert. And with the help from Indonesian indicator, data was mined using several criteria. The first one, data taken in form of interaction, such as tweets, replies, and also quoted tweets. The second one, data is in Indonesian and also in English from 17 to 20 January 2021. And the last one, data must contain 5 specific keywords. In the data analysis, we did several steps. The first one is querying the data. Second one, doing classification in coding sheet. We use for classification based on FNT, nationality, self-control, face concern, and also conflict management. And we use language and also account identification to identify the nationality. The next, we process the data in KDA Miner and also interviewing expert to broaden our data interpretation. And the last one, we analyze the data to write scientific article. And here is our finding. This finding answered our first research question. There are 1,053 tweets identified as Indonesian netizen tweets. And we found out that Indonesian netizens tend to represent themselves as independent, self-first, and also dominating. While there are 53 tweets identified as Black netizen tweets. And we found out that Black netizens tend to represent a similar image as Indonesian before. Now for the second research question, we found that Indonesian netizens are experiencing a shift face management from typical collectivistic face management to individualistic one. And this is one of the most interesting findings from our research. Meanwhile, we didn't find any significant identity shifting from Black netizens as they actually have independent background culture before. Our finding conclude that individualistic face management is used by the majority of netizens in this conflict, and it also supported by Microsoft surveys that claims Indonesia and US citizens these days tend to represent themselves as independent individuals. And the last, for the third question, the main reason why shifting identity happened is social media. Social media serve as an open space for discussion. Thus, every cultural information from every side of the world gathered in social media. And also anonymity also release its user from their norms in real words. In other words, Indonesian netizens are looking for new values based on the cultural information in social media that frequently doesn't appropriate to collectivistic culture in Indonesia. Meanwhile, we interpret the absence of identity shifting in Black using solidarity and community perspective. We assume that Black has succeeded in creating color-skinned community that provides a safe place for Black people as minority. And this solidarity of this community can be seen at various campaigns, such as Black Lives Matters. And in conclusion, regardless of the cultural background, netizens tend to prefer individualistic and dominating face management, which indicate that respect for different perspectives is less visible on social media. Therefore, sensitivity to cultural differences and face management are very crucial in intercultural communication on social media to prevent another conflict. Well, that is all we have for today. Here we're closing our presentation by thanking Belmawa and also FISIPOL UGM, Indonesian Indicator, and all the information that have been taken part in this research. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Farah. So, thank you for the presentation today. I think it is already 10 minutes. So, maybe to cut out for the time, for the discussion, maybe we will discuss your presentation or your material in the end of the session, in the second half. Okay, I think we will forward on to our next presenter, yeah, about parasocial relationship with media feature from Mbak or Mrs. Litwina Mutia Sadasti. Okay, Mbak Mutia, I will give thank you. The time to you now for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
thank you.
I will share my screen.
Okay.
Wait a minute, which one? Can you see my screen, Mas Dando?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Bapak Ibu, Mas Mbak, teman-teman, colleague. Good morning. I hope you're stay healthy, and thank you for the opportunity for me to present. I think this is my ongoing research because I still digging some data regarding this research entitled Parasocial Relationship with Media Figure. This is my qualitative study on fandom applications usage. Maybe my colleague now also know that I usually I like to research about celebrity studies, and parasocial relationship is not a strange thing for me. But right now, the study object is, I think it's more and more interesting to be researched on, because when we see the background, maybe you can also see the picture on the right that is still ongoing about how the relationship about between celebrities and the fans also, what is it, becoming more intense. Maybe when Mas Dado remember how 1990s, 1990s or in 2000, the relationship between celebrities and fans, I think it's not intense right now. You just send a letter to your idol, or reading a tabloid about celebrity, and you are digging some informations about the celebrities. But right now, I think there are some applications that is dedicated or really designed to make the relations between celebrities and the fans is really intense. And I think I am still using the concept from Horton and Wall, which characterize the parasocial relationship as one-sided interactions, even if the fans right now maybe have more open relationship. You can send a DM to your idol in Instagram or any other platform, but it is the I think the control is still on the idol. So let's see how it's going on in the fandom applications. This is about the data that I get from the News, but you can also get it from the K-pop radar. This is the top Twitter 2020 word map, which mentioned in the K-pop artist by market. And we can see in Indonesia, the most mentioned here is BTS. Where is ARMY here? We have ARMY here. EXO, TXT, NCT. Where is NCT? Stand here. NCT and Stray Kids. So our Mbak Rahayu is raised her hand. Which one are you? Is it ARMY or any other? So this is also becoming my background in researching about the fandom of. I picked two between this fandom, NCTzen and also ARMY, because I also note that on this data, Twitter also mentioned NCT is also high, BTS is also high, and the fandom application that they are using is also gathering profit from the for the management, and also the engagement inside the fandom is also high. So we picked those two objects. This is the research question. How do fans perceive the practice of using fandom applications? Because I think in my era, there's no applications like Bubble or Weverse that we can use to interact to our idol. So this is also interesting. What is the motivations that they get before they using this bubble and weavers, because those two is there's also there are some difference between bubble and weavers that we can discuss later. Maybe some is using it as a free applications and the other is paid applications. So they have to be more careful which one that they can use and what are the exploration that they can get when using this bubble and weavers. In the context of parasocial relationship between fans and idol, I think we can also highlighting about, because our theme also about how new normal era, and I also question about how the pandemic situation also contributing in for the environment, for the fans to use this bubble and weavers. This is my framework. It's about the relations between celebrity and fans. Celebrities are part of the daily fan audience. I don't know, maybe you have to give me some insight. How many times a day that you are exposed by your idol information, or maybe you are digging some informations about your idol. Is it in a daily basis, in a weekly basis, monthly or yearly, or minute by minute you are updating your information about the celebrity or your idol? This is also interesting for us to discuss. Part daily fan audience and are as distant as imagined. So maybe when I see how my informant using these applications, some of them also aware that they're just their idol, but some others is, yeah, this is not only my idol. He is my brother. He is my lover. He is my not only older brother, but also younger brother. And also he could be my father, maybe because of their wisdom that they share on the what is that fandom application. And the next, I also use the celebrity product consumption practice. Maybe you also notice here that celebrity is producing many type of products, celebrity content product, endorse. Maybe you also notice that, yeah, when it's Ramadan, when it's Ramadan, we can easily find like what is it, Syahrini, hijab Syahrini or mukena that also label the idol as the endorsed product, celebrity product surrogates that is represent the celebrity. Celebrity collectibles, maybe some of you also collecting the product from agak bocor ya. Celebrity product that you are collecting. Maybe Mas Dado also collecting a card or maybe photo card from the Blackpink, maybe celebrity brand product, celebrity designer product. As you can see that more and more product right now also engage or celebrity also label on the product itself. It's like maybe last year or last 2 years, Maudi Ayunda also designing the packaging of Pond's facial foam, like that is also related about the celebrity and product. And I also highlighting about the concept of activities surrounding the celebrity products, that this concept that I also asked to my informant is about, I get it from the concept from Zimmerman and Ayub that map the activities supported by existence of product related to them, including the process of the consumption itself, the projection, the collection, the reflection, and the construction is about the internal, how they are they are using the celebrity product to remember, to make them feel happy when, for the example, maybe some of you also watching a concert, your idol concert, and you are still saving their tickets of the concert just to remember that, yeah, I am very happy when I'm joining or watching the concert or any other thing. This is also related about the activities surrounding the celebrity product. And the last one is about the parasocial relationship. As I mentioned before, that parasocial interaction theory can also be used to understand the individual process of forming an attachment to the media person by maybe when you are labeled as a fans of any idol, when you are buying the merchandise from your idol, this is also the process of forming an attachment to that media person, to the idol, to the celebrity, and help explain consumer behavior using internet-based online communities. So this is the concept that I use for this research. The methodology, I'm using the reception analysis on the content of the bubble and the Weavers. Actually, I have more than 5 informants, but still, I'm still digging the details and the process of the analysis. And the age is 20 to 30. At first, when I initially planning this research, I also read some articles that I think the range of the fans of the K-pop is from 12 to 30 something. This is the majority. But when I am contacting this fandom, NCTzen and ARMY, most of them is maybe the majority is 20 and 30 years old. So my informants also give us some descriptions about how long they are being an ARMY or the NCTzen, and how they are using the fandom application or any other merchandise from the fandom that they are fond of. So this is maybe just initial finding that the bubble is from the SM studios, and maybe the background is in 2018, the fan club apps not getting profit and the interaction is not really high. So in 2020, bubble using an innovations that they are stated themselves that as a special private messaging, because this is difference maybe with another application or the fandom chat. Maybe when you are seeing your idol's content outside this bubble application, is you are very aware that, yeah, this is just your idol that's sending a message and broadcast the message, because it's one message that are dedicated to all. So there is no special attachment or exclusive there. But in bubble, there are also some systemic or technical thingy that you can the idol can add some triple add, and the message that's sent to you is exclusively for you. Can you get it? Maybe me as an idol send a message to Mas Dado, but actually I send it to all participants here. But the message that Mas Dado get can have the Mas Dado's name there. So it also gives some personal touch to the subscriber of the bubble. And they are really happy about that because they feel very have a strong relations and intimate relations with their idol.
Pak Mutia.
Yeah.
Speaking about message, I message you.
Oh, okay.
your time is up. Maybe you can wrap.
Yeah.
Maybe you can wrap.
Okay. And the next is, I think, yeah, you know about the Weverse. This is free when it's compared to the bubble, and the findings, maybe this is also the difference between my informants, but approximately they're joining in 2014 and 2015 become a K-popper, and they are not instantly really in love with NCT and BTS, but they're also liking some other idol, but they are most of them using this fandom applications to show their relationship, to show their loyalty to their idol, and also to brag with others because they are can afford to use this fandom applications, and they can get immediate updates from the idol, and the others cannot get the updates. It's just like this, the what is it, the visual of the bubble and also the Weverse. This is just like daily activity that the fans that can get. Ya, ini kalau di translate di bahasa Indonesia kayak gini nih, just like casual relations with you and your friend. And this is also the discussion from the consumption to the constructions that I think most of informant also practicing this consumption until the construction, but not all taken into serious, or is it serious matter, just like the casual. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mas Dado.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Mutia. So maybe we can discuss this later, but yeah, one point of that interests me is that the difference of the technology that happening right now and maybe 30 years before. This is very different since in 30 years in the 90s or the early 2000s you cannot send directly message to your idol. Yeah, I wrote some letters to Dian Sastro, but I never get a reply from Dian Sastro. It's okay like that, but today maybe the artist or the idol can DM or mention you in Twitter. Okay, we will discuss that later. We will further going to the next research or topic research, negotiating sexuality, the Indonesian female audience towards pornographic media content by Masita Vandia. Okay, so Mbak Masita, please, I give you the time and space. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dado. I will try to share my screen first. Okay, can you see my screen already? Yeah. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So this morning I will presenting the result of our current research. The paper is called Negotiating Sexuality, Indonesian Female Audience Towards Pornographic Media Content. And actually, I am not alone in this research. Also with me, there is Cheryl Kanza Atalia Wibowo, one of our proud students in communication department. And yeah, I will try my best to deliver this research result for about like 10 minutes given to me, but I don't know whether we have enough time, but yeah, let's just get started. So for the background, actually the discussion about pornography as one of the media industry, I've been doing a discussion last year, and there are some things that interest me and spark my interest to do some further research about this. But firstly is that we all know that porn is the easiest scapegoat for some numbers of sexual assault in Indonesia, and it is illegal in Indonesia, but in 1967, Denmark was the first country that legalized porn, and ever since, they are doing like routine research about this after it is being legalized in their country, and it shows the research has shown that there is a significant decline in sexual aggression in Denmark since the pornography is being legalized there. So it sparks a question whether is it really the thing that porn is the main scapegoat when we are talking about some numbers of sexual assault happen in our society. But then it needs to be further research about this. But what I found in Indonesian context is that most Indonesian research about pornography is mainly discussing about the effect on kids or teenagers or male teenagers. But as we know, pornography is an adult entertainment, so it is actually segmented to adult audience. But there is almost none research, and there is almost not yet a research about how it is impactful for the audience, the adult audience of the pornography. And as we know, during this pandemic, the Vice Media has already released the research that there was a rising number on Pornhub access during the pandemic. So yeah, again, this discussion is like it should be researched significantly. So why women specifically? Because in our society, in Indonesian context, it is more complicated when we are talking about women and sexuality, because it is considered as a taboo thing, and the normativity of Indonesian society has set of beliefs that sexual desires only belong to men. And when women speak about sexuality, they are being labeled as like, pardon my language, like a whore or a bitch, perhaps. But when men are talking about it in public, then it is a common thing, but not for the women. So yeah, and from last year's discussion, I got some information of my peers that eventually, actually, pornography is being used by some psychologists to treat their patients, mostly they're like the victim of sexual assault, because at some point these sexual assault victim, they feel like they are being traumatized by sexual intimate courtship and relationship event. And then the softcore pornography is being used by the psychologists as the treatment for psychotherapy for this sexual assault victim, apparently. So there are these things. So when we're talking about pornography, it's not always about like the negative impact on child. So there are, so I am here is questioning whether is there any possible other impact on pornography. And the purpose, I think, of this research is like to appreciating every voice and every human lived experience, particularly for the women who watch porn. So the literature review that I am using in this research is mostly from Johansson, The Transformation of Sexuality, Gender and Identity in Contemporary Youth Culture. And yeah, it's a lot of words, and I think you can just read it on my screen. And I also using Shira Taren from her 2016 book about the pornography as a media industry. And then there also this, what is it? In a media landscape, there's also the mediatized society, and then John Baudria as the literature review. And Okay, this is one important thing that I want to highlight from this literature review. I have been like collecting some of previous research in regards to pornography and then sexuality in women, and apparently there are two contested paradigms in seeing how pornography affecting women's sexuality, and some of them say that it is a form of oppression, but the other side argue that this is a form of empowerment. And there is some quotes taken from like previous research regarding to this matter. And so for the method for my research, I am using the new ethnography by Paula Stoko, because it enables me and my team to like what is it? discovering new sites and respecting every the experience of living being, particularly the female youth in this case. And initially we only have like 3 informants, but then I emphasize by adding 5 more informants to this research. And for these 5 informants, we are able to not only conducting an in-depth interviews, but also the focus group discussion. And then the analyzing method I am using is the polyfocality, of course, because that's what Soko, urge for the researcher who wants to approach with ethnography method to like discussing the polyfocality we find in our informants. And for the result in discussion, our first finding is actually that our informants is having like this conflicting self when they are consuming pornography, because they feel satisfied about it at one side, but on the other side they feel guilty upon watching it. Every informant, I think almost all of them, like they begin to watch porn because of curiosity, and somehow they feel guilty about their curiosity. And after their first experience in watching porn, they most of them feel like they are disgusted with themselves, and then but yeah, they cannot deny that they feel after watching porn they feel like satisfied, and then they feel happy even at some point. And yeah, this is the from quoted sentence from informants, and this is in Indonesian, but I think later for non-Indonesian speaking, I think later Mas Dodo will translate it for you. So yeah, let's go to our next finding is apparently for female audience specifically, they tend to trying to find rationalization, like why am I watching porn? And they tend to like attaching their rationalization with their significant other. So yeah, all of informants in this research, they are heterosexual and they currently have partners or boyfriends or even husband. So yeah, most of them is like using their relationship as a reason to like watching porn. But interestingly, for the informants who haven't been married yet, they haven't done the sexual intercourse actually with their partner, and porn is like the way that they find they can unleash their desire without having a real a real sexual relationship with their partners. So it is kind of interesting because at one side they are trying this they are trying to like keeping the normativity for not having sex before marriage, but then again they're finding porn as a resort for like unleashing their sexual desire. And then the next finding is that apparently they discuss about sex and sexuality, but only to some people that they really trust. And they're selecting them by like having some closest friend who has like similar value, and then an open mind about sex and sexuality. So they're not telling it to just like some random people. No, because they tend to be afraid to be judged by those random people if they are telling them that they are into a discussion about sex and sexuality. So yeah, there are certain social judgment that they are avoiding actually. And then the next discussion is about, when we are talking about between the fantasy and the reality, just as Baudrillard said in his thesis. But then again, our finding here, apparently our informants, they can differentiate about what they see in porn is not real. That is just a fantasy. That is just a construction building, specifically about the construction of like beauty, and then the body goals in it. But then again, there is this fear that they will be treated as just like what they see in porn by their male counterparts, or by just men. And I think this can be analyzed from the pornography itself as the media. It is still like it is being constructed in a male gaze perception, and it is putting male and female in a power relation of subject and object. So female is the object here, the object of sexualization, and then in a society, in a patriarchal society like us, it is being internalized in our informant, that they think that we are the object in this matter. So that is, I think, the common, the most significant problem that we found in our research, that the position of subject and object in this patriarchal society has been internalized in our informant, that they think in a sexual relationship they are the object here. And for the conclusion, so yeah, women who regularly watch porn are negotiating their sexuality through an effort to rationalize that sexual desire is a normal thing for them, despite the society told them otherwise. And they are selecting whom to discuss about sexuality with in order to avoid social judgments. And this is a double standard problem in society. Like I've mentioned before, that women who talk openly about sex and sexuality is being condemned as a bad women, but it's not like that with men. It's the other way around, that men who discuss about sex and sexuality in public openly, they are labeled as just masculine or manly or things like that. And the third way they are negotiating their sexuality is through understanding that porn isn't real, but at the same time they also admit that they did learn one thing or two from it. And I have to point out that our informants in this research, they began actually watch porn since like underage. So but when they are asked about this, they say that it is the lack of sexual education in Indonesia that actually make sexual problems in society. For example, like the many case of sexual assault in our society. So it is not making the porn illegal or blocking some porn site. It is not actually fixing the problems, because when the porn illegal sites are being blocked by the government, for example, people can still access it through VPN, and that's what our informants did actually, and that is not actually solve our sexual problems in society, but gender equality does. What is meant by gender equality can solve sexual problems is with building the understanding that in a sexual matters, the power relation between men and women is actually not as object and subject, but rather equal. It is actually can fix many things and many sexual problems in our society, including the numbers of sexual assault in Indonesia. And yeah, the most importantly is that the government actually needs to enhance the sexual education in Indonesia, because they just like ban porn and make it illegal, but they don't enhance the education of sexuality and sex in Indonesia. So our younger generation, like our youngsters, is like they don't know about sexual reproduction health, and then they don't know about how to conduct a safe sexual relationship and things like that. It is not in order to like enhance the free sex culture, no, but in order to like educate people on how to get access to like safe or sexual reproduction health in this country, and that is still lacking in our society, in our country. So yeah, I think that's it from my research, and I am actually open for any discussion. Perhaps there's still many things lacking from my analysis, but yeah, I think this forum is a good chance to like to develop this research further. Okay, thank you so much for the chance, and I give the forum back to our moderator, Mas Dado.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Masita. So it's an interesting point that you discuss about women as an audience are using are using pornography maybe on daily on their culture, maybe daily life. Okay, one thing that is for sure that this doesn't promote a sexual free sex culture, but it would like to promote a more safe access to healthcare and so on. Maybe we will discuss this on a later discussion session. So the next one would be we will moving forward to the next one. It would be Dr. Rahayu and Mira Dr. Rahayu and Mira Paramastri, which research is about challenge of public participation in digital media and environment, the case of RRI Indonesia. Okay, Mbak Rahayu and Ms. Dira, I think I give the forum to you, the time and space. You may continue. Thank you.
Thank you for the moderator's introduction. Please allow me some time to share my screen. Okay. Can the screen be seen?
Yes.
Okay. Is my voice, can my voice be heard?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So thank you and good day to all honest speakers, guests, moderators, and staffs. For today's opportunity, I will elaborate the research findings done by Dr. Rahayu and myself titled Challenges of Public Participation in Digital Media Environment, the case of Radio Republik Indonesia. Okay. Today's presentation consists of these main components: our research background, the theory involved as the basis for our research, the overview of our research methods, and our findings and conclusions, which will be the main part of today's presentation. All right, as what we fellow media communication scholars might have realized, today's digital environment is no longer the same as it was before. Technology advancement happens and the pandemic has undoubtedly accelerated its progress. This phenomenon is global and Indonesia is not excluded from this rapid transformation. However, as positive as it may sound like, advancement and transformation comes with its own set of challenges. The increasing number of media businesses, media actors, content choices, its variety and consumer engagement has shaped and will continue to shape new media market environment. And one of the most important factors we have all grown to pay attention to is the factor of competitiveness. Competitiveness has pushed media actors to improve themselves, to stay relevant with consumers' needs, preferences, and platforms, and in our research case, highlight the transformation of a public service broadcaster into public service media. Here we could see the data from We Are Social, which shows the significant digital growth in Indonesia, such as mobile connection, internet, and social media users, as well as the time spent on media. What differentiates PSB to PSM lies in its platforms, connection between platforms, possibilities of content creations, and public engagement. PSM here in general is defined as a publicly funded multi-platform media space that is relevant, credible, and impartial. That is essential for an informed and effective democracy and should be accessible and accountable for all citizens. Radio Republik Indonesia or RRI is an Indonesia's PSB that mainly operates and famed for its radio content. While being known mostly for its radio broadcasting, RRI have also done its share of transformation to adapt in the increasingly competitive media market. This is especially important considering RRI's position as Indonesia's sole non-private public service broadcaster. Their relevance for Indonesia's consumer in the media environment is highly important to counterbalance the market-driven or business-oriented private media contents that are increasingly gaining public's attention. However, any media success, including that of RRI, is highly reliant on not only the attention of the public, but also their participation. And this study purpose is to explore further the extent on which RRI has successfully involved public participation. Also, based on our literature review, there is an issue on the decreasing of legitimacy for PSMs, including that of RRI. Here, the government and politicians have also shared their concern on PSM's relevancy in digital environment. Therefore, public participation is a key issue to be timely discussed. So why is public participation so important for PSM? While private media can survive and operate through means beyond public participation, such as what we know like clickbaiting, advertisement bombing, etc., public service media does not only rely on public participation. This public participation is instead one of the crucial foundations for its being. Most funding that allows PSB and PSM to operate comes from the public. And in Indonesia, the public pays taxes, which then collected and allocated by the government to fund RRI's operation. While the general perception may view the funding to come from the government priorities, essentially the source of its funds are the public. Thus, in line with the definition of PSM that was previously mentioned, it is only natural to expect that PSM's reason, purpose, and processes should be based from and for the public. And to guarantee such purpose and processes, public involvement is highly crucial. So here there are two types of public participation we may be most familiar with, which are the discursive and the creative. The discursive public participation refers to participation limited to comments on certain contents, posts, forms, digital tools, mostly to express public's opinion. And the creative public participation refers to the channeling of a more active engagement from audiences and all contents that are mostly user-generated. While RRI has tried to include these two types of public participation, this research argues that to improve public participation, solely relying on these two types of public participation is insufficient. In its processes, the public may also need to be involved in three other important areas, which are funding, governance, and production of content. For this research, we have included FGDs and desk studies of relevant documents and literatures. For the FGDs, we involve two kinds of participants. Firstly, from the internal members of RRI, which are Dewan Pengawas or the Board of Supervisors, RRI's management and staffs, as well as those external from RRI, which are the listeners from members of the public. These are the details for our FGD with RRI's internal members or staffs. It's conducted via Zoom meeting on Tuesday, 18 August 2020. And these are the details of the FGD with the listeners, external FGD also via Zoom meeting in Gorontalo, Yogyakarta, Jakarta, Jayapura, Etikong, and Medan. And the following are the numbers and participants criteria for the external RRI's FGD. 20 people per city per region and have listened to RRI in the last 2 months, aged between 17 to 60 years old, and are residents of the region. They could be teachers, artists, culturalists, housewives, etc. And this FGD is carried out by the research writer and other researchers, which include Dr. B. Faula Kusumasari, Dr. Indri Dwi Aprilianto, and Pujirianto. This FGD is part of the second audit RRI, where Dr. Rahayu is the coordinator. And the FGD results are then made into transcript and coded to find the appropriate words, sentences, keywords that fits the research team. As mentioned previously, what makes good public participations are those that does not only accommodate discursive or creative participations, but also participations in terms of governance, funding, as well as content production. Here we will lay out our research findings on RRI's study case based on these main proponents. As an overview, RRI has done its fair share of efforts in going digital and diversifying its content at platforms. For instance, not only RRI does terrestrial radio broadcasting, which include regional radio station relays, RRI has also boasts its own online radio, rri.co.id, its own audio-visual radio, RRI TV, and radio on digital platforms, which are downloadable for the public, which is the RRI Playgo. RRI has also claimed one of its ongoing projects in progress, which is the use of AI for managing broadcasting programs. But despite these efforts, RRI listeners beyond the age of 10 are still very few compared to Indonesia's total population. So here we can see that RRI listeners in the age beyond 10 years old compared to Indonesia's population is only 19%. And here are some visuals on the examples mentioned previously. This is online radio rri.co.id. And this is the RRI Playgo. Here we could see that the access to RRI Playgo is referred to as not really accessible from the RRI's report I mentioned previously. And all right, moving on to the first type of participation in our findings layout, the discursive participation. From the previous examples on RRI's outlets and the number of visits, platforms, followers, and platforms, we could see here that RRI has done commendable efforts in channeling public's discursive participation, such as their comments, opinions, and feedbacks. However, the trend for this kind of participations are not quite positive. According to the data on Social Blade, the trend for this engagement are in fact decreasing or quite stagnant, as we could see from the decreasing total likes on RRI's Facebook page and the slight increase, but in general, the stagnant graphic on the number of people talking about the topic of Radio Republik Indonesia. Next, on creative participation, our research found that there are also several efforts done by RRI to facilitate creative participation, such as through Belajar di RRI, Study with RRI, Ombudsman involvement in Gorontalo, Jaksa Menyapa, partnership with RAPI, Radio Karaoke, cultural performance, etc. However, our research also found that these efforts are still very much lacking, fashioning these several weaknesses, which include participation opportunities are not yet equal for the public, and parts of the FGD participants didn't know the mechanism to participate, broadcasting contents are not engaging enough, lack of platforms variety, which then resulted in the lack of participants, existing digital outlets for participants, which are implemented, are not yet maximized for users. And this lack of engagement could also be seen through the results of a mini survey published in the Audit RRI Part 2 of 2020 reports, in which only 12% of the samples listen to RRI's content every day, while most are only several times a week, and 34% are less than once a week. The reports also shows that while listeners feels that RRI have done commendable effort in involving the community in program production, as we can see from the right diagram, through Belajar di RRI, Karaoke, etc., there is a mixed response on the question, does RRI provide opportunities for community involvement in planning and evaluating programs, highlighting the sufficient lack of public participation in the field, as we can see from the left diagram, referring to the previously mentioned weaknesses, such as just now, participation opportunities are not yet equal for the public, FGD participants didn't know the mechanism to participate, etc. Next on funding, RRI's funding is still very much dependent on the Indonesia state budget or APBN, while other income came from limited advertisement, partnership programs with the central and regional government, and non-broadcasting income from land or building rentals. Our research found that these funding are insufficient to cover RRI's operational costs, such as on content or program productions. And this resulted in the removal of some programs, such as Dialog Pakar or Dialogue with an Expert. Next, on governance and content production, we have found that there is an excessive concern over some contents, which some internal members suspect may be misused to threaten the nation or government, which results in the thinking that public participation therefore should be limited, such as stated by one of our internal FGD participants who said that we need to be cautious and careful with public engagement or participation in managing broadcasts because RRI is bound to three prasetya, or pledge on misuse of RRI's broadcasting tools that could threaten the state. And this resulted on how the program, planning of content production, are still lacking the participation of the public. There is also the problem on internet or technology infrastructure, especially in frontiers, borders, remote and other developed areas, which limits public participation. So to conclude, the changes in digital environment have pushed RRI to be more concerned and innovative in improving public participation through various platforms or media outlets. Public participation gives RRI the legitimacy for existence in the future to come. Through channeling such participation, RRI will then have sufficient guidance for improvement while maintaining the relevance for the public. Public participation ideally include not only discursive and creative participation, but also participation in funding, governance, and content production. In terms of funding, it is important for the government and the people's representatives or DPR to give more attention to the amount of APBN or state funds that could guarantee RRI's quality public service. All in all, this research shows that RRI does have the commitment to improve public participation. However, their implementation needs improvement. They should embrace public participation in all processes, which includes planning, implementing, and evaluating. And that is all for our findings. Thank you for your kind attention.
Okay, thank you, Mira and Mbak Rahayu. Okay, this is interesting because this is talking about RRI as a public radio, yeah, but the public's participation in digital media environment, despite the participation that grows or growth in digital media, but it's still lacking of number that you mentioned. Special about also about the funding of RRI, which is still where the funding is still from the APBN of Indonesian APBN. Okay, maybe we will discuss this later. Thank you, Mira and Dr. Rahayu. The next one is from Dewa Ayu Diah Agendari. The research is about a picture speaks 1,000 words, interpreting public leaders' crisis communication towards COVID-19 on on Instagram. Okay, Diah, I will give the forum and the time and space for the time and place for you. You may present.
Thank you, Mas Dado. Good morning to all presenters and participants. My name is Dia, and today I will present my research with title "A Picture Speaks 1,000 Words: Interpreting Public Leaders' Crisis Communication Towards COVID-19 on Instagram." Mas Dado, please do interrupt me if the time is up.
Okay.
Yeah, I will start with background first. So we know that crises such as COVID-19 pandemic are highly associated with high levels of uncertainty and strong negative emotions such as fear, distrust, and anger. And therefore, it is very important for the organization to respond to this situation and then delivering updated information. Hence, the public will be able to making sense of the situation they are currently facing and then take appropriate action to reduce or minimize the risk. So far, to date, the government has been doing various communication activities. They have been engaging with various actors in delivering crisis messages. And as we know, COVID-19 forced us to move most of our activities from offline to online world. So it is not a surprise when social media becomes the main source of information for Indonesian to get updated information on COVID-19. Survey from Nielsen last year mentioning that WhatsApp become the main channel for Indonesian to get updated information on COVID, followed by Instagram. And Instagram itself managed to increase its basis users from 60 million into 2020 to more than 80 million in 2021. And although the basis users for Instagram is relatively still lower than Facebook in Indonesia, but research shows that the users of Instagram uses the apps more frequently in the sense that they are coming to the apps more frequently compared to those who are using Facebook. Another research also suggests that Instagram is quite effective in promoting health-related messages because it offers the combination of image and text, which is better in attracting attention, retain memories, and build understanding towards health-related information. Nevertheless, Boyne et al. And Olson and North argue that crisis can also be seen as a political event in the sense that political actors may use crisis as a momentum to make meaning with its prospect, promote their political career, seek supports for policies, attack their opponents by showing their ability in handling the crisis. In Indonesian context, previous research from Hermawan and Syahputra also highlight that pandemic COVID-19 can also be seen as somewhat political. Hermawan, for instance, saying that the conversation about lockdown, which was happening around May last year, was more about political discussion rather than discussing the substance of lockdown itself, because those who are taking place in the conversation are associating themselves with those who are supporting the idea of lockdown and Anies Baswedan versus those who are opposing the idea of lockdown and supporting Jokowi. And here, this research see that public leaders possess crucial role in delivering crisis messages. On the one hand, they represent their position and of course their responsibility to provide and deliver messages to the public. However, on the other hand, looking at crisis, which can be somehow political, these public leaders are not or cannot be detached from their own interests in politics. There has been similar research which also examine how political actors exploit crisis, which title how European leaders represent themselves on Twitter. And therefore, this research tries to, or particularly aim to see the implication of, this research particularly aim to see the multi-layered message of public leaders in Indonesian context. To answer this question, the research and then break down, the research break down the questions into two main questions. The first one is what message does the public leaders attempt to communicate through its Instagram account? And then the second one, to what extent these political leaders use Instagram to exploit crisis messages? This research focusing on 4 Instagram accounts, namely Jokowi, Anies Baswedan, Ridwan Kamil, and Ganjar Pranowo. And then this 4 account was chosen because we see that the case of COVID-19 in their working area is relatively among the highest compared to other regions in Indonesia. And all of these public leaders have relatively huge followers on Instagram. And this research will analyze the type of crisis messages that they are presenting, their kind of self-portrayal, and then the connectivity shown on their Instagram account. These are some conceptual approach that is being used in this research. The first one is on the crisis communication messages. This research is using Sturt's crisis communication messages, which cover instructing, adjusting, and internalizing information. And then Lim et al., which then contextualize the health crisis context. Lim mentioning in his research that crisis communication in health context specifically not only aim to help public to reduce the impact of the crisis itself, but also persuade them to adopt a new healthy lifestyle. And then the latest research from Peterson about optimistic anxiety, which actually mentioning that in order to persuade public to adopt a new healthy lifestyle, it is important to make them understand or making sense of the situation that they are currently facing, to make them anxious about the situation, but at the same time to then keep the level of optimistic high. So then, yeah, they know that if they are doing certain things, they will be able to reduce the risk of crisis to themselves. And then the second conceptual approach is the crisis exploitation by Boyd et al., Combs, and Olson and North. Crisis exploitation basically argue that crisis indeed disrupt the routines and expectation that exist in society, but crisis also opens up political space for actors who have interests both inside and outside the organization, outside the government, and to redefine existing issues, propose innovation, and also gain popularity. And then the third conceptual approach will be on Instagram as a crisis communication platform and crisis exploitation platform. This research is using descriptive content analysis. In total, there are 620 posts collected. Data collected in this research is any content uploaded by the official Instagram account of these 4 public leaders, which related to COVID-19 at the beginning of COVID-19 period, which is from February 29, 2020 to May 29, 2020. I will also like to thank the research assistant, Farah, Camila, Lutfi, and Bisma for assisting me in collecting the data and then doing the coding protocol. Let's move to the finding and discussion. All of the political leaders uses Instagram frequently, with Ganjar Pranowo becomes the most active in uploading the content. At least for instance, average, these public leaders uploaded 1 to 2 content per day related to COVID-19. And their followers seems to like a post which contain government efforts in handling the crisis, and then private portrayal versus professional portrayal. As you can see on the bottom left is the kind of pictures that is getting the most likes and comments from the followers of each of these public leaders. And then in the middle and then bottom right are also the kind of posts which portray their private sites, with also gaining a lot of likes and comments from their followers. The next one, this research found that there is similarity on the focus of the messages delivered to the public. For instance, all of them mainly emphasize on the efforts and action taken during COVID-19 to reduce the impact of the disease. And then they are also emphasizing on the information and persuasion to adopt health protocols. There has been also messages which show sympathy and appreciation to public. However, there is very little room to explain or educate public about the disease itself. This is actually aligned with my previous research, which examined how government institution, which is the Ministry of Health and COVID-19 task force, in communicating crisis messages. Both of the government institution are also emphasizing more on the efforts taken by the government and also information on health protocols, but giving very little room to describe or explain what COVID-19 is. And then in terms of self portrayal, there is also similarity in the way these public leaders present themselves. They show their professional affiliation in majority of this occasion. They also use more rational approach compared to emotional approach. However, in terms of connectivity, Jokowi tends to put himself as the center of attention, involving no other actors, whereas the other three public leaders shows different pattern. For instance, Anies Baswedan tend to portray himself with other politicians, whereas Ganjar Pranowo mostly portray himself with his public in Central Java and other non-politician figures. Ridwan Kamil favors non-political figures and also politicians. And according to previous research, connectivity may show how these leaders want to be perceived by its followers. This is the last slide, Mas Dado. So yeah, crisis in terms of crisis exploitation, crisis does create momentum to enable these leaders to be present on Instagram more frequently. Instagram is used to show their ability in handling COVID-19 instead of shifting responsibilities to others. And then in terms of self-portrayal and connectivity, which may be used to make meaning with their followers, self-centered image may show the self as the center of crisis handling and in policy, whereas connectivity with others may portray leadership and proximity and intimacy with its followers. Another unique pattern where Ganjar Pranowo exhibits in which he combined his professional and private portrayal, which he may be used to enhance the image of proximity and intimacy with its follower, while still being present as a leader. Well, that's all from me. Well, 10 minutes flies very fast. I will give the forum back to Mas Dado. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dia. So this is also an interesting topic about how public leaders that you choose Jokowi, Anies, Ridwan Kamil, and Ganjar Pranowo using Instagram for exploiting the crisis message and so on. Okay, maybe we will continue the discussion later. So we will move forward for the sixth presenter. It is Fitrah Yus Haryani. What do opinion leaders share from new normal? A qualitative content analysis of opinion leaders. Okay, Fitrah, is it Fitrah? Are you here?
Yeah, Mas Dado, aman.
Okay, okay. Thank you. You may present your material now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mas Dado. Does anyone can see my PowerPoint clearly?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's such an honor for me to present my paper here as the panelist in this special session. So I'm going to talk about what do opinion leaders share from new normal. It's quite close to Mbak Dia's paper, but here I'm focusing on opinion leaders. So people's social lives, in particular the methods of communication, have undergone unprecedented change as the consequence of COVID-19. Such interactions like face-to-face and other communication in the traditional era have been restricted and finally have directed the public to alternative means of communication such as online platforms, where in my study I focus more on the Twitter. So based on the empirical data, the news about new normal sprang on May 18, 2020, when President Joko Widodo asked the public to make peace with COVID-19 while complying the health protocols. And then the news soared in May 26, when President Jokowi giving the to run the new normal order. And then the last one, the conversations on Twitter increased rapidly to 142,000 tweets on May 27, becoming the reason why I chose the period between 16 to 29 May 2020. So here I'm presenting the drone Ampered social network analysis data. The reason why Indonesians are very actively using Twitter related to the new normal is caused by two reasons. Well, actually, I'm displaying that in the middle, there is online media, such as for the information arbitrage, but let's not focus on this one. I'm just focusing this on these two clusters because there is a strong coordinated campaign about the new normal by the pro-government, like such evidence in the many hashtags like New Normal Indonesia, Disiplin Normal Hidup Baru, and so on. And the second cluster coming from the strong negative responses from the pro-opposition. Okay, so it's quite different from the traditional communication where we lack of information. In a digital world, audiences must make decisions about which content shall be consumed because there are too many noises. He says that, you says those, then says this, and as a result, many are turning to online opinion leaders to filter out the existing noise. So this is quite interesting since we remember that COVID-19 is the first global pandemic since the arrival of social media. So the questions arise about what type of content do people share on social media during the pandemic. So I'm using the self-presentation theory by Goffman 1959, where it is a complex negotiation process between two positions, the front stage and the back stage. Okay, so what about in the online identity in the social media era? Well, Bullingham and Vasconcelos says that in the context of online identities, the online environment is seen as the front stage, while the offline life is the back stage. So here it is. All the contents that the opinion leaders share on their social media is seen as the front stage, while who they are, the position they held in their real life is seen as the backstage. So opinion leaders revolve around those who have positions such as elites, activists, and voice makers. So elites are those who have positions such as bloggers, politicians, and those who have direct access to the media, or we can say that as journalists. And then social media usually associated with two well-known platforms such as Facebook and Twitter. But why I choose Twitter is because Twitter has managed to connect ordinary people with those who are popular, powerful, and influential compared to the other social networks. And I have two goals here based on my research question. What is the presentation of new normal message that carried out by online opinion leaders on Twitter within this period? So first, I'm going to describe and analyze the new normal message. In here, I'm going to find out the speech themes first, what exactly are being told about the online opinion leaders and on Twitter. And then finally, I'm going to analyze their self-presentation in the online identity in the social media. So I'm applying a research method, a qualitative content analysis that I adopt from Screa 2012, and I apply inductive strategy. And for the data collection is done by taking samples from the tweets of opinion leaders related to the new normal on Twitter. So this is actually, I borrowed the data from top 100 influencers new normal by Drone Ampered. So these influencers are coming from global influencers, but because of the ethical reasons, I'm applying 4 purposive sampling criteria. So it is actually, I'm only choosing those who speak in Indonesian language, and then I'm taking those who act as opinion leaders, and then upload at least 2 new normals, and then has at least 75,000 followers. So it generates 6 accounts of opinion leaders: Haikal Hasan, Haris Azhar, M. Said Didu, Ridwan Kamil, Ismail Fahmi, and Kurawa. I'm applying comparison across time or stability, or we can say this as intra-coder reliability test. And then I'm applying face validity. Okay, so coming into the results and findings, starting from the speech themes first. So here are the steps I have applied in my paper, where in the second step, when selecting the material, I'm asking for the help of Twitter advanced search by using these combinations: account, user surname, specific date, and tweet containing keyword of new normal. And then coding frame consists of categories. So this is actually my main concern when I'm doing the research. And because I have told you before, I have to make sure the result is stable within 2 weeks because I'm using intra-coder reliability test. So it must contain the same result. So there is actually, I am delaying the subcategory of humor, and because Skreya 2012 in her book told if there is only one subcategory, we should delete all the subcategories and not generate it any further. So I'm leaving the one category here, satire category. Okay, so I'm applying the instrument of analysis to my analysis. So this is the unit of analysis are those tweets. And then I'm doing the segmentation to make it more simple. I'm giving the code, I'm giving the subcategories and entering it to the real categories, and then I make the themes. So the results contain 7 categories that are most talked about the opinion leaders on Twitter within those periods. So I'm categorizing it and further to 3 most speech themes. So there is economic issues, and then the second theme they talk about the implementation of new normal order of life, and the last one they talk about negative sentiments, and it contains these categories. And then results and findings, we are going to find out the self-presentation from opinion leaders' online identity. So Haikal Hasan tweeted about weekly observations and economic circumstances and solutions, where in fact, Haikal Hasan is also a Muslim politician who also give his critics to the government. And what about Haris Azhar? Haris Azhar criticized more about the indications of abnormality of the deployment of apparatus and the problem behind the anti-power deployment on new normal. And in the backstage, Haris is an Indonesian advocate who greatly contribute to the human rights litigation and public interest. So it's not quite different from the front stage and the backstage. And it also happens to M. Said Didu, who filled all the selected message on the theme of negative sentiments. He also being a pro opposition to the government about the new normal. But in backstage, Said Didu is the person who finally asked for the retirement as an ASN because he wants to be more objective in identifying the performance of the government. And Ridwan Kamil giving the information about Jabar Road to New Normal and also informing the audience about the opening of economic activity in West Java. When backstage, Ridwan Kamil is the governor who has a fresh leadership style, and Ismail Fahmi mostly fulfilled the real data category because he is in the backstage is a journalist data and also giving his contributes in literature. And about Rudy Valinka, well, he is not quite different from the backstage, where Rudy related to the mobilization of the security forces. Rudy entered the pro camp. He is a pro government because he is one of Jokowi Ahok community supporter, and he is actually one of Teman Ahok community member. So from this, we all knew that opinion leaders in the presentation on social media didn't try to go beyond the most basic aspects of the online offline stuff, but on the contrary, they bring it into the whole body, the whole persona, the whole personality that exists in the offline world. So I'm going to give in the conclusion. There are 3 major speech themes about what the contents that most talked about by the opinion leaders on Twitter within 16 to 29 May 2020, which is first theme, they talk mostly about the economic issues, and then they talk about the implementation of new normal order of life, and the last one is they talk about negative sentiment, and about the self-presentation, they behave as themselves. I'm going to give you the suggestion for the further research because my research is still limited in 16 to 29 May 2020. So the further research should expand the period, especially because we have to know what exactly are being brought to social media in 2021. And then research at the macro level, maybe in the audience level, to finally find out the response from the audiences about what the opinion leaders have brought about this issue. And the last one, we should analyze more global hashtag or specific keywords, whether it is in Twitter or other social media platforms, to find out how the impact of pandemics on various aspects of human life and how this is reflected on social media. So that's all from me. Thank you very much. And I'm giving back the forum to Mas Dadu. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fitrah Puluh Rawa. Pulau Hulawa. Okay, talking nearly the same as Dia, but this is conducting in Twitter, in Twitter. Okay, the next, the last but not least, we are going to call the last but not least, it's the presentation from Mbak Lisa Lindawati, Lisa Lindawati, about the role of information and communication technology for economic sustainability in Indonesia. So, is Mbak Lisa here?
Okay, yeah, I'm here, Mas
Yeah,
Dedo.
Mbak Lisa, you can start your presentation. You have 10 minutes. Maybe I will mention.
Okay, remind me.
Yeah.
Okay, finally the last speaker. Participants said, I think, because there are so many speakers today. I hope you are not overwhelmed with our discussions today. So thank you, Mas Dedo. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me here. It's a joyful occasion to share with you, and together with our college from Department of Communication Sciences and also students. That's a very, very interesting forum. Let me share my screen first. Okay. Can you see my screen? Yeah, okay. Yes, slightly different from the prior speakers that present their research finding. To be honest, my research is still ongoing, and what I want to share is part of the preliminary research that is going to develop my research framework in the future. So if you don't mind, I would like to use this forum to get feedback and also suggestions, comment, critics to improve my research model. And my research title is The Role of Informations and Communications Technology for Economic Sustainability in Indonesia, a case of social entrepreneurship's development in the digital ecosystem. And there are many keywords in that title that give me directions to elaborate the framework. This is part of my preliminary research, actually. But before we go to my research concern, I would like to tell you about my academic journey that influenced how I approach this case. That actually my background is communication studies. So I take place ICT as part of communication system that influences the dynamic of communication and vice versa. And my interest actually began when I studied to my bachelor degree when the internet in Indonesia is still young and social media hasn't dominated our lives. Maybe around 2008, I was wondering about the impact of ICT on the public sphere. And I use or refers to the Habermas concept about the public sphere. I examine the online discussion to observe the deliberations process in this new medium. And by these findings or my research findings in that time, I thought that ICT promises to increase our quality life couldn't take for free, but we have to fight for it. And as time went by, my curiosity around ICT remained and brought me to the other issues. In 2012, I was interested in examining ICT use in the development context, especially rural development. And in my journey to observing this issue, I found an exciting movement that brings counter approach to the government, like what government thinks Gerakan Desa Membangun, the movement called, that positioning desa is a subject of development, not merely an object like in the term of Membangun Desa. As well as ICT use, they can decide when they would use this new technology, what kind of business they would like to use, and what type of application they will use. And what I have learned from this study in the 2012, if we took an ICT as a tools and give the freedom for the user to decide their needs, they will have a sense of belonging to the technology. And from this study, the concept ICT over T, which places people first before technology, got the relevance and proved. And it impacted the sustainability of the program and technology. And nowadays, ICT expose almost all fields and realms and explore the issues on community empowerment through ICT. In the next step, I observe the ICT using the community-based tourism. Because my time is limited, I will directly underline the findings from the third study. refers to money references. The digital ecosystem encourages the equality of access and participations. The network structure that emerged in this new sphere drives more collaborations and partnerships among users. And one popular concept that describe this phenomena is sharing economy, that illustrates access is more important than ownership. In this tourism context, this new ecosystem open new way to conduct the tourism services. But on the other side, this new ecosystem also drives the copycat destinations that reduce their marketing value. And competitive culture is still dominant rather than a collaborative partnerships. And so the process of co-learning, co-working, and co-promoting that become my focus on the research hasn't yet happened in our community because they just use ICT as a tools without a new mindset. So in the other word, we can say that technological perspectives or technological mindset or digital mindset remains low. That's I think become our work. And start to the ICT and social entrepreneurships in these 2 years, I was exposed to the new realms because of my duty in faculty. I get to know the business realms, especially social entrepreneurships, that actually a new thing for me at that times. But when time goes, I found the relevance of this new field with my interest in communications. So I try to elaborate these new realms with my interest and my concern in communication studies. This is my prior studies about social entrepreneurships. In my previous work, I talked about the social entrepreneurships as a storytellers that based on my study, the digital ecosystem flourishes the more significant opportunity for social entrepreneurships to develop their missions in this new ecosystem. And the digital ecosystem that brings by ICT support at least two strategies. For the first, from my deck study in the prior research, ICT provides a new environment that drives the social mission work in the business realms and refers to the social entrepreneurships definitions, which place between the social and business sectors. The digital ecosystem enables to the business that aims to gain social impact. The ICT opens the opportunity to reduce productions, distributions, and also promotions costs, that it make the social entrepreneur able to do or conduct their business and also prioritize the social impact as a goals. And the second, ICT also provides a communications channel to the socialpreneur to tell the story. I look more deep in the business process, and actually nothing difference between social business and usual business as general. And on the surface, they also produce goods and services and must take a profits from their activities. What ICT does is tell the story and differentiate their product from the other usual product. By digital medium, they could influence people to choose their product because they don't sell the product itself, but also value, missions, and also social impact. So what ICT do with social entrepreneurships drive me to the further questions. It drives me to develop my recent study. I want to step deeper into questioning the impact of ICT to sustainability. So this is my research background. My studies start from the trend of social entrepreneurships in Indonesia. That social entrepreneurship has been discussed in many sectors, community, government, and also academics realms in at least 5 till 10 years. It also related to, I think, related to the Nobel Prize accepted by Muhammad Yunus, Bangladesh, who famous with the Grameen Bank as a social entrepreneurs. And also, I think the social spirit embeds in this new model of business in line with the Indonesian value, gotong royong, kerjasama, etc. But until now, the definitions of the type of this new business is still broad and varied. And so in general, the term yeah, we can say that the term refers to the business entity with firm intentions or specific intention to make a social impact, but the degree of commitment to make a social impact is still varied. And second, my study is also based on the reality that, as we know, that our major population is digital media users now. Exceedingly after the pandemic, I think the pandemic accelerates our society to transform to this new ecosystem, and for the consequences, most fields and realms transform to this new ecosystem, especially business, because they have to meet their user, and most of user is co-digital. And the third, my study concerned with the deeper goals about the sustainability. In my previous deck study, I found that sustainability is not only talk about ecological sustainability, but must be supported by economic, social, political, and other aspects of sustainability. Because to achieve ecological sustainability and protect our planet, it needs social, political, and also economic commitment, and vice versa, ensuring this realms also sustain. So ecological sustainability should be in line with the other realms sustainability. So I want to explore it more in my studies. And last but not the least, related to my interest, I'm also concerned about the role of communications in this new ecosystem associated with the social entrepreneurships and sustainability discourses. Now, my background drives me to elaborate on these questions. How does the role of information and communication technologies threaten the economic sustainability in Indonesia through social entrepreneurship practices? And back to the aims of my recent study, in this preliminary research, I want to explore the element associated with the keywords above, and what is the aspect that I have to focus on to answer my questions. To be a foundations for my research, I use three key concepts that I will explore more. I started with the communications for sustainability as the newest approach in communications related to the sustainability lens. And the second concept is ICT and sustainability. The most influenced article considered in the study come from Christian Falk that explore the opportunity and challenges on ICT in achieving sustainability. Falk talked about the social, economic, and also political sustainability. And last concept, but not the least, instead of merely using social entrepreneurships definitions, I want to explore more about the idea of sustainable entrepreneurships, which is in everyday discussions, the social entrepreneurships become a part of this kind of entrepreneurship or sustainable entrepreneurships. And this concept stress the sustainability of productions, distribution, and also consumption. And this sustainability in this concept not only becomes an attribute or spirit, but also implemented in the whole process of business. Okay, Mas Dado, I will make it faster. Yeah, I do my my research by deck study and literature review. I want to also say thank you to my students that helped me read and reviewed a lot of references in this study journey. And based on that deck study and literature review, I found at least 4 key concepts that drive me to explore the essential element for my further research. And I think 3 of the critical concepts relate to my previous framework. So I will add some information about the last concept. This 4th concept talk about the opportunities and challenges for business in the way of using ICT. This technology could encourage to a new approach to a market that drives the transformations of the business model. That's what I got from this literature review, to add the literature review that I did previously. So from this deck study and literature review, I'm trying to develop my research framework. I try to build my research framework, and look at this. This is the diagram that I try to build to my further research. There are 5 critical concepts in this diagram, which ICT become the front concept that support the social entrepreneur achieve economic sustainability. And in the wings, there are communications and entrepreneurships that become an enabler. And in other words, we can say that ICT has a vital role to support the social entrepreneurship in promoting a sustainable economic through change the business process in the element of entrepreneurships and building a discourse about sustainability as a related to the communications. And this is my further research that I want to get a lot of feedback from this study, but from this forum, but if there are enough time to discuss in this forum, let me or feel free to contact us in this via this medium. Thank you, Mas Deda. That's all. I give back the forum to you.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Lisa. Okay, thank you for the presentation. Okay, we still have, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes if it's all right for the discussion. So maybe we will start the discussion, the second session of this parallel session about the discussion. Do you guys, the audience, have any questions regarding the presentation about this special session? I will open I will open for 3 questions. Are there any questions from the audiences regarding the topics? Some of them are very cultural. Some of them are very conceptual, and so on. Maybe you guys have a question about these topics. This is all interesting, depending on your study field.
I think the audience have forgotten the material because we presented too much.
But maybe the audience want to ask things about question. I have questions, but I'm a moderator, so I won't ask.
Maybe you can ask about, all clear, no need to ask.
Yeah, all clear, no need to ask. Mbak Yayu. No one?
May I ask to other speakers?
Oh yeah, Lisa. Mbak Lisa, you can ask.
Yeah, biar rame ya guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I want to ask to Diah and Fitra that I think the research team is correlated, yeah. Based on your finding about how the leaders represent their concern about the pandemic, is it influence how the leader tackle the pandemic itself?
Mbak Lisa, you are on mute.
Mbak Lisa, you're mute.
OMG. Ini memang udah kurang konsentrasi ya. Sorry, kepencet, Kak. Okay, I want to ask to Dia and Mbak Fitra that talk about the crisis and the opinion leader on the leader in the pandemic context. Based on your findings, what they represent in the social media or the digital media, is it influence how the leader tackle the pandemic? Like what Ridwan Kamil represent in their Twitter or the other social media account, is it correlate or relate with how they tackle the problems? Sorry for the noise. Thank you.
Hello, Naira. Thank you, Mbak Lisa. Fitra, would you like to answer first? Shifting the responsibility to Fitra.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Lisa. So actually, I didn't recognize about the response from the audiences because I'm doing a qualitative content analysis to only the 6 opinion leaders. So I'm only figuring out the speech stems of the opinion leaders starts from Haikal Hasan, Haris Azhar, Ridwan Kamil, Said Didu. So I'm finding out what exactly they are talking about within the context of new normal in the within 16 to 29 May 2020. So that's why I said in my suggestion, further research maybe should doing the macro research on the audience level to find out how the response from the audience in responding the tweets from the new normal about the information about Jabar Road to new normal and then the prevention measures and real data and so on talked by the opinion leaders should be responded by the audience. I haven't found that, but it could be in my future research. That's all from me. Thank you, Mbak Risa.
Yeah, I think my answer is quite similar to Fitra because in my research, I do not examine whether there is a direct influence between what they are actually doing on field and what they represent on their social media account, which is Instagram. However, what the research found was more on the type of content that they are pushing through their social media account, which is more on the efforts that they have been taken or are currently doing in fighting COVID-19. Just a reminder that my research was done to analyze in the context of at the beginning of the pandemic. So the disease was not well explained yet. There were a lot of rumors about the disease. However, the government or these public leaders chose to then expose more on the efforts and then on the health protocols. Although those two information are actually also important to be presented to public, because in order to actually helping public making sense about what is happening, after making sense about what is happening, public need to adjust with their psychological sides, because crisis indeed gives a lot of uncertainty and it increase negative emotions from the public, and therefore psychological messages are important, and what the leaders are doing are already on the right track. However, still my research found that it is also needed to give more explanation on what the disease is, who is being vulnerable because of the disease, what the risks are, and any other information on the disease itself. Mbak Lisa, I hope it answers.
Mbak Lisa, may I add my answer first? Okay, so firstly, you talk about the impact on the audience. Well, when I do not analyze the impact on the audience, but I want to concern about Haris Azhar. He actually tweeted that it's not needed the deployment of aparat. Sebenarnya tidak diperlukan penurunan aparat dalam kasus new normal ini. He actually already told the indications of abnormality of the deployment of apparats and the problem behind the NE Polri deployment, and it's now evidenced by the report of 651 cases of the violence involving the police during the pandemic in the period June to 2020 to May 2021, where the most violent acts are shootings in the handling of criminal acts due to the new normal issue. Jadi sebenarnya sudah diperingatkan sama Haris Azhar terkait it should not need the apparatus to mengawasi new normal sebenarnya, dan ini terbukti bahwa pada saat tahun 2021 there are too many reports, 651 kasus yang mengindikasikan bahwa dengan adanya penurunan TNI Polri, akhirnya sekarang banyak kasus yang mana paling banyak kasus terjadi itu adalah penembakan terhadap mereka yang melawan, seperti itu. So that's all from us. Thank you so much, Mbak Lisa, and we giving back the forum to Mas Dado.
Okay, thank you. I hope this answer your curiosity, Lisa. Okay, any other questions, maybe? No, do we still have? Yeah.
Can I?
Oh yeah, Mbak Masita Fandia.
Okay. My first question actually is for Mbak Mutia, because her research interests me so much about this listen bubble and the new kind of parasocial relationship. I think I want to ask, what is is there any significant difference between the parasocial relationship before listen bubble existed and after now that listen bubble is existed? And that is my question for Mbak Mutia. And second question is probably again for Mbak Dia and Mbak Fitra about the. This is really interesting because as last year I conducted a research about the health communication of COVID-19 issue in social media. But my approach is from the audience perspective, particularly the youth, and it is found that some youth develop some kind of distrust towards the government and the public figures in the way they deliver information regarding to COVID-19 pandemic. And I want to ask whether these public figures that included in your research, do they have some kind of awareness that there is this kind of distrust among young people, particularly who, as we know, they are mostly social media users in Indonesia is the youth or the youngsters. So yeah, I just want to ask whether they are aware of it or not, and even if they are aware, how do they respond to that matter? That's my question. Thank you.
Okay.
May I answer?
Mbak Mutia, before you answer, this is the last question that will be asked because the forum should be closed in 10:35. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mas Dando. Thank you, Masi. I also excited to research about this. So as a researcher, I also feel the spark while researching or interviewing my informant. Actually, I did not highlighting the difference between before or after using the bubble, but our informant has told me also a story before and after using the bubble. When we are looking at the concept, back to the concept, I use the concept from the consumption, projection, collection, reflection until construction. They also give us give me some information that before the bubble exists, they're not really into fangirling. Maybe as the example, they are looking for the informations. They are worshiping them on the concert, on buying merchandise, or until they are what is it? Maybe writing a fan fictions. But after using the bubble, they feel the emotional connections is more, more tight, because they just know, I know their daily updates. So I'm just like, this is the bubble is diminishing the space between the idols and the fan. Just like, yeah, I know their daily activities, so that I imaginizing that I'm his neighbor, or I'm his schoolmates, or I'm just their inner circle, like that. So this is also, we feel like we are living in the fan fiction. Yeah, even though some of them realize that whatever the daily informations that the bubble brings to them, I also I also realize that they're just my idol, but still the emotional connection is also high. Some of them also mentioned that I also more active in commenting, to combating the I think hate comments to them, because I just want to save their idol from the Sweet Kim operated, from the negative comments. So I think this is the implications. So the relationships is also changing. Especially, I also asked about the pandemic situation because the time that they're using to fangirling or using line bubble, it's so increasing. So this is the finding, but I have to analyze it better, Masita, because I think I just what is it describing from the consumption until the reflections, but I'm not digging deeper yet about the construction process on the consumption of the product celebrity, especially this bubble and weavers. Thank you, Mbak Masita. I hope it answer your question.
Thank you, Mbak Mutia.
Okay, I think that will conclude the discussion because the time is up and it's 10:40 right now. But this is Kusuma Nabila asked from the I don't know, he's asking about culture phenomena. To Mbak Masita, maybe you can Japri or DM Mbak Masita about this question. Okay, to conclude this all, I will close this special session in Southeast Asia Conference on Media, Cinema, and Art. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the audience, and thank you for the presenter, presenter of the 7 research topic. I don't know. Do we need photo photo group? Because I cannot do photo group. Maybe in the I don't know the one who's technical is going to do it. Do we need that?
Yeah, Mas. I think
you do the photograph, ya, Mbak Mutia.
Yeah, and also the committee is also joining us here, so they can help us taking the picture.
Yeah. Okay, it's okay. Yeah, please do.
Ibu, are you there? Can you help me taking a picture for this?
Yeah, the committee will help you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so for the first page on 3, 2, 1. Okay, one more for the first page. 3, 2, 1. Okay, for the second page, well, no one is turning on their camera, so we are just going to screenshot. Okay.
Is it done?
Yes, it's all done.
Okay, it's all done. Okay, thank you all for joining this discussion in the special parallel session. Okay, I will close this session. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Stay safe and stay healthy, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. See you. Stay healthy.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
see you soon.
Stay healthy.
Mbak Lisa.